PYQ analysis will help the student understand not just the question and answer format, but it will also help them understand the broader trend from where the questions are coming. You analyze the previous year question of any optional subject, half of your job is done. So in total, there will be 8 tests or 8 unit tests that will be there to test your understanding of the entire syllabus. Not only it will help your understanding of the syllabus, but it will also help you to become exam ready. It will break the inertia that is required often to conduct or to take the test. You deconstruct the question, because that is the essence of writing a good theoretical, a good optional question, is that you understand why this question has been asked in the first place. What is the context behind asking a question? Hi everyone. If you are someone who has taken PSIR as an optional, or you are someone who is deciding or thinking about taking PSIR as an optional, this video is for you. So in this video, we'll talk about what it takes to significantly boost your marks in the PSIR optional. So before doing that, let us talk about why PSIR as an optional is very famous and why you should choose PSIR if you are someone who is still on the fence. So first thing is that PSIR has huge scoring potential. It is one of these humanities optional where you can easily score 300 and plus marks. Secondly, it has significant overlap with general studies, especially considering GS paper 2. All of the syllabus, like all of the parts, is polity, governance, international relations, all of them are covered via PSIR. Then you have GS paper 1. Within that also you'll study about history, you'll study about Indian society, and you will study about GS paper 3, especially the land reforms part and the political economy part. When it comes to GS paper 4, you'll study about the ideas of thinkers like Plato, Socrates, John Rawls, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. that would significantly give you an edge in the GS4 paper. Also, it has significant overlap in the essay paper, because in the essay paper we know that UPSC is now asking more and more philosophical question, right? Then thirdly, if you look at the success rate that PSIR has, so PSIR has, UPSC released a report in 2021 in which it mentioned that 140 out of 1571 PSIR candidates were successfully recommended by UPSC. So the same trend is also shown recently as well, which means that it continues to be one of the most sought after optional that gets a huge success, right? And most importantly, it is one of the most interesting subject, right? Apart from all these consideration, it is also one of the most interesting subject of all the optional. Why? Because it is highly dynamic in nature. It requires you to have analytical lens, right? And it also helps you in all these ways. Now the problem is, there are certain areas which aspirants face, and we'll talk about some of those challenges. Now the first challenge as far as PSIR is concerned is with respect to conceptual clarity. Conceptual clarity will probably you will face problem understanding whether something to analyze is from the GS perspective or how to analyze it from the optional perspective, and also about understanding various concepts. Then the second part would be about completing the paper on time. Third would be understanding the demand of the question. And then the challenge would be about value addition. So how different is your answer from your competitors? So in case you have some background in PSIR, you have done MA, PhD, or even bachelor's in political science, then you would mostly have no problem with respect to the conceptual clarity part. You will understand largely the concepts really well. So at the same time, you will have problem with respect to the implementation part. You will have problem with respect to completing the paper on time, because this is something which is independently working, right? So here you have to not only understand, but you have to understand and complete the paper on time. Second, you need to deconstruct the question. Question would be very specific, so you need to understand exactly what UPSC demands from you, and then you need to break it down into its significant components, and then try to build up the answer from grounds up. So you also need to have understanding the demand of the question. And then further, you need to add value. How do you enrich your answer? Could it be done through the use of political thinkers? Could it be done through the use of concepts? Or could it be done through the use of certain current affairs, right? Because all of them play a huge role in value addition. Now, those who are very well in PSIR, especially with respect to the content part, they will easily manage around 220, 240 marks, right? But the challenge comes from taking your marks from 240 to 300. And this is where importance of a structured test series comes into picture, or a platform where you can practice dedicated and structured answer writing. And this is what VisionIAS is going to help you with. So let us talk about what VisionIAS is going to provide you, what approach VisionIAS is going to follow with respect to the test series. So here I'll talk about two things in terms of the idea that VisionIAS is building on. And these two ideas is, first is on the basis of incrementalism, which means that you start something from a beginning level, then you progressively increase your workload. This is what we do in gym also. We start with a smaller weight, then we progressively build up or start taking up heavier weight. So first thing is incrementalism. Then the second part is with respect to content building. Now this is something which most of the test series which are there in the market, they do not talk about, because what they provide is just a series of tests, and maybe they will have discussion, but this is something that makes it unique. Now for this, VisionIAS has a very different approach, where it starts with the PYQ analysis. So PYQ analysis will help the student understand not just the question and answer format, but it will also help them understand the broader trend from where the questions are coming, right? So for this, what will happen is there is going to be sessions to understand important themes and trends through the PYQs, and it will be done by faculty. So 20 faculty-led PYQs will be provided. It will help build effective answer writing structure to bridge the gap between what UPSC demand on one hand and aspirants' understanding, and it will enhance quality of answer through the inputs provided by the faculty with respect to the UPSC PYQ. So this is an element that will help you to build the content, because if you analyze the previous year questions, you will see that most of the questions, either they are directly repeated or their themes are repeated. So if you have practiced, for example, 5 or 10 years worth of PYQs, then automatically you have given yourself this provision that you have understood the trend largely, and you have enough content to write on any theme that is asked from the theme that is asked earlier, right? Then the second thing which is there with respect to the incrementalism is with respect to the way in which tests are asked. So here what we do is we have 3 types of tests. We have unit test, then there is sectional test, and then there is full length test. As you all know, PSIR, like any other optional, is divided into 2 parts. You have paper 1 and you have paper 2. In paper 1, we have political thoughts, political theory, Western political thinkers, all these things. And in section B, we have Indian government and politics, where you study about the constitution, about how politics intersects with the constitutional aspects, right? So we'll study about the center-state relation, you study about the role of caste in the politics, right? So paper 1 plus section A and section B. Then you have paper 2, which first section A has comparative politics and the theories of international relations, such as realism, such as liberalism, etc., along with the key ideas of globalization. Then in the section B, we have Indian foreign policy, where we study about the basic origin and the determinants of Indian foreign policy, the major relations that India has with other countries bilaterally, and also with respect to other groupings, right? So what we do is we break it down into several simpler topics in the unit test. So in unit test, the idea is to help you understand the concepts, to help you recall the concepts, right? And here the questions will not be very difficult. The questions will be easy to medium, right? And they will be focused. The focus here will be that you cover each and every topic of the syllabus, so that in exam, if anything comes from the syllabus, you are in a position to attempt that question. And here, the number of tests will be 8. So for section A, paper 1, there will be 2 sections, section A and section B. For section A, there will be 4 tests, 2 tests here and 2 tests here. So there are 4 tests here. And same for paper 2, you have section A and section B. For both, there will be 2 tests each. So in total, there will be 8 tests or 8 unit tests that will be there to test your understanding of the entire syllabus. Not only it will help your understanding of the syllabus, but it will also help you to become exam ready. It will break the inertia that is required often to conduct or to take the test. So it is going to be an excellent platform for you to practice answer writing, right? The second part is essentially an intermediate state, which is a sectional test. So the sectional test will be testing your analytical skills, your application-oriented skills, and also it will test you and it will prepare you for the uncertainty that UPSC often requires you. Third aspect here will be full-length test. So here you will have 2 full-length tests per paper of PSIR option. So for paper 1, there will be 1 full-length test, and for paper 2, there will be 1 full-length test, exactly mirroring the way UPSC conducts examination of the optional papers. And now the nature of the question will be exactly similar to what UPSC asks, right? So here there will be a couple of questions, like 1A to 1E will be there, which you have to compulsorily attend. Then there will be some questions of 15 mark. So question number 2 will have 20, 15, and 15. And similarly, exactly like UPSC asks questions. So here you will understand which questions to attempt and which questions to skip. And more often than not, you will find that some of the questions, for example, 2A, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3B, 3C, right? So each question will be for 50 marks. And it may happen that question number 2B is very difficult, but the rest of them are very simple. But here the same thing will be applicable, that one of these questions will be extremely difficult and the other 2 will be easy. So how do you approach it? What should be the consideration that you should take into that would approach or that will help you to attempt a specific question? Because you have to not attempt all the questions, you have to attempt 5 out of 8 questions. Okay, so here in these questions we provide you some sort of, we do not give you, in unit test you have to compulsorily attempt all the question, and the duration here is also lesser. So this is for, I think, 1.5 hour, and these 2 are for 3 hours or 2.5 hour, right? No, so this is for 3 hours. So essentially here you have to exactly mirror the UPSC conditioning, but in the unit test here you have to practice. So all the questions are compulsory, okay? Right, so this will help you to, the full-length test will help you to understand what approach you should take in selecting the optional, because that art is also very important, that on what consideration you are choosing to attempt a particular question. How do you maximize your marks? Now you cannot understand this unless you have actually sat down and taken a test and seen the feedback, right? So this part is very important. Now we also provide you with the detailed schedule way in advance, so that you can prepare in a structured manner. So we'll tell you about the test number, when it is going to be happening. So for example, unit test 1, then we'll talk about the release date. So you can take the test on the release date or after the release date, but not before the release date. Then we'll talk about the topics that is being covered. So for example, in the first test, we have political theory, political ideologies, Western political thought, and Indian political thought. Then we'll also talk about the references that you should look into. So here, references can be VisionIAS value-added material, or it can be the other books like O.P. Gauba, Brian Nelson, Andrew Haywood, V.R. Mehta, IGNOU sources. So we provide you with variety of sources that you can go and refer to. But if you just want to refer to a consolidated source, for this you can refer to the value-added material of VisionIAS. So the point is that in advance you'll know what topics you are going to be tested on along with the references, so that you can prepare in an organized manner. Right, so this schedule will be available in the brochure that you can take a look at the VisionIAS website. Now let me tell you about the kind of answer writing bullet print that we have. So here it is essential that you deconstruct the question, because that is the essence of writing a good theoretical, a good optional question, is that you understand why this question has been asked in the first place. What is the context behind asking a question, right? Then you need to build the answer, because simply understanding what the question demands is not enough. We also need to build the answer, and for that we need to incorporate key concepts and theories or themes that is associated with a particular question. Then we need to also use some of the value addition tools, such as examples, debates, or the opinion of certain scholars, right? For example, you can quote Pratap Bhanu Mehta with respect to Indian judiciary or any Indian political system. You can talk about V.R. Mehta for Indian political thought. With respect to India's foreign policy, you can write or you can refer to scholars like C. Raja Mohan. You can talk about Shiv Shankar Menon. And also, of course, you can talk about the views of our external affairs ministers as Dr. S. Jaishankar. Right? Now, what exactly are the key differentiator that will give you some extra marks, that will fetch you additional 0.5 or 1 marks in every single question? That would be alternative, introduction, thematic conclusion, and linkages of contemporary debate. So this is a highly important part which a lot of students miss out on, because all they think about is completing the paper and understanding the demand of the paper, but what they do not emphasize on is building the question or building the answer comprehensively and using some value addition tools. Now, if you look at the answers or the model answer that VisionIAS provides, it is completely in alignment with this thought process, that it just cannot be a collection or part of answers, but it has to have certain thematic coverage. For example, in this question, write a note on relationship between equality and liberty from a multicultural perspective, right? So this was a question that appeared in this year's mains paper. So if you look at how we have broken down this, so first thing is you need to break it down to understand that, okay, this question is about the relationship between equality and liberty. And this topic is something that has been often a matter of investigation across various theories, across various traditions, such as liberal tradition, such as Marxist tradition, and now in the multicultural tradition. So in some of these traditions, liberty is given prominence over equality. In some of the tradition, equality has more prominence with respect to liberty. But what exactly is the status or the relationship between multiculturalism with respect to liberty and equality? That is the demand of the question, right? So this is basically an applied question. Difficulty is moderate to high because it requires applying conceptual theory to real-world multicultural settings. So what could be the approach? So here you can talk about classic liberal thought which reconcile liberty with equality, saying that both of them are important. At the same time, you require thinkers like John Stuart Mill, you require insights of thinkers like Bhikhu Parekh for substantive group recognition. You also need multicultural liberalism such as Will Kimlicka's model, group differentiated rights, real freedom, cultural equality, balance between equality and liberty, where you can talk about mutually conditioning. So all these aspects, right? So this, if you approach in this manner, it basically means that you have understood the demand of the question and you're writing what is required. Then further, you can build a lot of things here as well, where you can talk about the perspective. You can talk about some real-time or real-life examples to show how multiculturalism is practiced. Maybe you can talk about the example of France, right? Or you can give example of India, right? Or you can give examples or talk about salad ball model or melting pot model. So again, if you introduce these terms, this definitely adds a lot of value to your answer. But also, remember that it is most important that you provide real arguments that would enrich the points that is there in the question. So the key things should be that you should provide real arguments, and it should be backed with some solid thinkers and some examples. Now, the second pillar of the test series, the first pillar that we talked about is a robust test series discussion incremental form, where you have unit tests, you have the sectional test, and then you have the full length test. The second pillar here is PYQ discussion. So as we earlier discussed, that if you analyze the previous year question of any optional subject, half of your job is done, because most of the themes that you see are somewhat related to the prior topics that have been asked. Definitely there will be some variation, but you will understand the crux or the essence of the topic merely by going through the previous year question. So the PYQ will help you in the question deconstruction. The faculty will help you understand what exactly is the demand of the question. Then they will help you in pattern analysis. For example, if you analyze the idea of justice or the questions that are coming from the topic of justice, you'll often find that John Rawls' ideas of justice are frequently asked topics, along with the fact that there is significant emphasis on the critique of the idea of justice provided by John Rawls, especially from the perspective of communitarians like Michael Sandel. Then you have conceptual depth. It will provide you with conceptual clarity with respect to theory and with respect to analysis. Then it will also help you enrich answer quality and will also help you identify what probable topics could be asked from the same theme, right? So this, along with that, you will be provided with handouts with data analysis. This will help you to prioritize themes, and the sessions will be uploaded strategically before the sectional test so that you can quickly revise them and before the immediate application, right? So let me just give you a brief, rundown on what exactly we're going to provide you with the test series. What is the advantage that you get once you join VisionIAS test series? So the first thing that you get is that there is what we call as innovative assessment system, which provides you a very quick feedback. Because if you write an answer and you get feedback in say 10 days or 20 days, then you'll forget yourself what you had written, right? So it is essential that you get quick feedback. So it provides you with quick feedback, detailed feedback. So it means that you will get detailed feedback in terms of how to add more value and how you can build on your own, right? It's not just that there will be content dumping, right? It will talk about, the feedback will talk about how you can yourself improve given the same content that you have, right? And it will be providing you contextual and content competence, right? So all these facts are very important to add your value to your answer. Then the second thing would be video explanation, where the faculty members will come and explain each and every question in a detailed manner so that you understand the thought process behind these questions and understand how to go about it. Third, we provide you with mentorship support. Sometimes it may happen that we have a particular doubt that is very significant to us, but maybe it has not been covered in the class, or despite being covered in the class, we do not understand what exactly is the missing gap. So for this purpose, we have mentorship, and you can use one-on-one discussion with your fellow mentor who will help you understand why did you get certain feedback or what could be the importance of this and that things, right? Then you'll also get all India ranking. Now this is a very important tool that will help you to benchmark your performance. It will help you to place yourself in front of all the other candidates, because all the serious aspirants will be taking up these tests, and if you are scoring consistently in these tests in a very good way, then it's very much likely that you are going to actually do well in the actual exam, right? Then apart from this, we also provide you with resources, right? Resources, which means access to topper copies, which you can do for comparison. So this is basically an approach of peer learning, where you can learn from your own peers. You can see how your other other students are doing, so that you can also learn from them and incorporate lessons from them, right? Then you'll also get early access to VisionIAS 2026 value additions material. So if you look at the value addition material, VisionIAS significantly reduced the time for preparation through the value addition material, because it compresses everything in a very structured manner, right? So we had prepared this earlier as well, but since PSIR is a very dynamic subject, we'll also update it. So you'll get an early access to the value added material as well. So apart from this, we also give you the PYQs, right? PYQ sessions as well. So these are some of the advantages that you will get from joining the VisionIAS test series program for PSIR optional. Now, these approach has definitely worked in the past as well. In fact, in the last year, 20 out of 28 questions were reflected in our test series in paper 1, and 17 out of 28 questions were reflected in our test series for paper 2. So you can go and check the detailed analysis and the comparison done side to side along with the test code to see how this works, right? So this is a significant way in which we can say that the way we prepare questions are very much in line with the thought process of UPSC, right? Some of these questions can be, like you can see how these questions are. For example, question number 1B, write a note on relationship between equality and liberty from multicultural perspective. Now the question that we asked was relationship between liberty and equality. So obviously you will be providing the interrelationship with respect to various perspective, along with the liberal perspective or Marxist perspective and multicultural perspective. Or question on, say, explain how Rawls used liberal and egalitarian perspective to develop his concept of distributive justice. Now this question was exactly asked in our test series in this form. How does Rawls' difference principle balance the competing claims of liberty and equality, illustrate with contemporary relevance? So if you go through the discussion of any of these questions, you will automatically understand the core demand and the core ideas provided by these thinkers and the particular thought process, right? So that will definitely help you in writing these answers. The same thing with paper 2 as well. For example, does the non-aligned movement have any future in the wake of India's growing indifference towards it? So this was essentially a critique of the non-aligned movement in India. So we had several questions on this. For example, the NAM today exists more in India's rhetoric than in its strategic calculus. Do you agree? Now this question was exactly what was asked in the mains examination. So we can see that there is significant reflection from the question that was asked in UPSC, actually mains exam, and the test series that we had conducted in the last year. Right? So this is all about from my side. So if you want to significantly jump your marks, if you are someone who has conceptual clarity but not able to get good marks or is stuck between 200 to 250 marks, or even if you are a PhD student or someone who is joining, you are a veteran or you are a beginner, it doesn't matter. I would strongly suggest you to join the test series of VisionIAS. Thank you so much and all the best.